Shalom. With this week's Sedra, Lech, we're introduced to two of our most important and heroic individuals of our faith, Abraham and Sarah, the founders of our people. They are told by God to leave their ancient homeland of Ur and go to the place where God will make them a great nation, the land of Canaan. No sooner do they arrive, a famine hits the land that God promised them. Abraham and Sarah go to Egypt, for the famine, the Torah tells us, was severe in Canaan. As they're about to enter the land of Egypt, Abraham says to Sarah, and I'll paraphrase it, Abraham says to her, "I know what a beautiful woman you are. If the Egyptians see you and think she's his wife, Sarah, they're going to kill me and they're going to take you. Please, please, tell everyone that you're my sister. They're going to take you, but it will be well with me because of you. I'll remain alive thanks to you." You can read it yourself. It's Genesis chapter 12, verses 10 through 13. Now, not the only one of our commentators, but the great Nachmanides delivers some of the most harshest criticism of Abraham here. He speaks for many when he declares that Abraham committed not just one grave sin, but two. One, for leaving the land that God promised him, but also for putting his wife in such an awful, moral and dangerous situation. As his sister, Sarah would be freely taken by another man in the land of Egypt. She will be forced to commit adultery. Where was Abraham's trust in God? Where was the trust for the God that he agreed to follow to a strange land? Why didn't Abraham, as a man of faith, hold out for a miracle? I mean, that's something a true man of God would have been looking for. Now, I usually disagree with Nachmanides here. I tend to defend, like many rabbis, Abraham here. I tell myself, come on, what did you expect Abraham to do here? Do you expect him to stay in Canaan and die as a result of a famine? Would that really have fulfilled God's promise to them? Would it have been better for him to proudly declare to everyone in Egypt, "This woman is my wife," and then be killed by the locals? And if he was killed, and once he was killed, Sarah would have been taken from him anyway. So how would that have served Sarah? How would that have secured Abraham and Sarah's future? So yes, I understand. Where was Abraham's trust in God? But surely you can't call it a sin to save yourself, and you can't blame Abraham for being afraid and not knowing what to expect when they get to a foreign land they've never been to. But for this video and for this commentary, I'm going to disagree with myself and agree with Ramban, with Nachmanides, and say, yes, Abraham sinned. And also I'm going to say that I'm glad he did. And I'm glad that the Torah gives us this as the first stories of Abraham and Sarah. I like when the Torah points out these difficult moments, these challenging moments, when our heroes and heroines of our faith don't know what to do, are faced with terrible decisions to make, and that we can still argue that they may have failed. If you ask me, that gives me hope for my life. It gives me hope that I can improve. That being human, created by God, no matter how great you are, means you don't know everything, and you will never be able to know everything. And God, despite all that, despite your flaws, has a role for each and every one of us. I second guess myself all the time. I question my decisions. I look back on my life choices so many times with regret. And it is helpful to see that even our most saintly men and women who we treasure for their goodness, we treasure for their greatness and sense of purpose and responsibility, had those moments as well. And maybe also got them wrong too, just like us. The fact that the Torah leaves these stories unresolved and soon to be debated forever reminds me that life doesn't always have easy answers, and that the Torah doesn't give us all the answers to life. And that is okay by me. Our heroes didn't always get it right, especially as we see with Abraham early on. And yet, when the final words on Abraham's life is written, he is revered despite a life fraught with complexity, ambiguity, and decisions questioned to this day. Abraham remains a role model for all of us. A hero, precisely because he didn't have all the answers either, and because he was just as torn, just as uncertain, and just as complex as me. People like Abraham become, as a result, our champions because they grew from their mistakes, and they teach us that we too can learn from ours. We all can grow wiser, more thoughtful, more righteous with each passing day, and yes, with every mistake we make. Shalom.